very good evening to you. This 25th day of March 2019 in our top stories.
Tonight, the growing divide in the country's leadership now seems to be turning to kicking out DP Ruto.
If it is found that he has violated the Constitution of Kenya or any other law.
Also tonight,
my energy levels are low. I need to go and get a bite.
Your MP wants you to pile more choice food on their already heaped plates. The legislators strike again. Plus, presenting the world's best teacher.
Peter Tabachi.
Teaching profession is great. It's a noble profession that the world needs to recognize.
Joy, celebration and hope.
It will bring a lot of benefits to our community.
And the heartbreak of children abused without much government intervention.
Tears just started roaring. I mean, I was so touched.
It is, it's something you can hardly imagine.
NTV Tonight with Zeynab Ismail.
Our sign language interpreter this evening is David Agondoa. Now tonight, the court has dealt former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero a big blow after it dismissed his bid challenging the graft charges facing him. In a ruling delivered earlier today, Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti said the charges against the former governor met the threshold required by law. He further said no evidence was placed before him to convince him to interfere with the charges. Kidero and former members of his administration have been charged with conspiracy to commit an offence of corruption, leading to the loss of 213 million shillings. Kidero, however, challenged the charge of conspiracy to commit corruption. According to that, it was faulty, arguing rather it was faulty and the offence did not exist in law. He also wanted to be charged separately, arguing that the charges were lumped together with an aim of embarrassing him. Now, is there a plot to impeach Deputy President William Ruto? Well, that is the question that lingers within the political circles. NTV has established sponsors of the impeachment motion are currently looking for the legislator who will introduce it in the National Assembly. Now, NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Murethi examines the options on the table and how hard or easy it is to remove the deputy president from office.
There were charged political statements from opposition politicians over the weekend as the ODM party campaigned in Ugenya ahead of a forthcoming by-election. The politicians made it clear they were mulling over the possibility of eliminating Deputy President William Ruto from the 2022 presidential contest. Without delving into much details, Senate Minority Leader James Orengo gave the first hint yet they could use the law to remove the Deputy President.
The Vice President of the Republic can be removed from the office, the high office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, if it is found that he has violated the Constitution of Kenya or any other law.
The statement giving the clearest signal yet that something may be cooking behind the scenes as the animosity between the ODM and a section of Jubilee politicians against the Deputy President escalates with each passing day.
The threshold for the removal of the Deputy President on constitutional grounds is much lower than going through a criminal trial or a criminal prosecution.
The Constitution in Article 150 outlines the reasons for the removal of the Deputy President as being physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of the office, on impeachment, which will be on the grounds of a gross violation of a provision of this Constitution or any other law, where there are serious reasons to believe that the Deputy President has committed a crime under national or international law, or for gross misconduct. 2. The provisions of Article 144 and 145 relating to the removal of the President shall apply with the necessary modifications to the removal of the Deputy President. In Article 148(6) on when the term of the Deputy President should end, C says upon resignation, death or removal from office.
These people just fear the political wit of Dr. William Samoei Ruto, and that is why they are doing everything possible within and without their power to tame him, because they know 2022 as it beckons. They are very sure and aware that with the political mastery and wit of Dr. William Ruto, they don't stand a chance.
Those of you who are loitering in the streets of Nairobi and Parliament, camping in restaurants and bars, having small discussions around the Deputy President, trying to entertain a thought that the Deputy President can be impeached, I want to tell them to count their numbers clearly, because vile Ruto anasema tuko na shortage ya wajinga.
However, Cherangani MP Joshua Kutuni agrees it is not the right time to talk about impeachment, but says there are reasonable grounds if explored extensively.
Where is this thing coming from? It's coming from all these allegations that are going on, from the issues of the maize, from the issues of the dams, where there's some relationship or the how he defends most of these statements that are, any allegation that comes, then he's the first one to defend or to divert the attention from the investigation. You see the way he's attacking the DCI, the DPP, yet he's in the government. Of course, those are statements that cast aspersion on his commitment on fighting graft.
The process of impeaching a president or a deputy president starts in the National Assembly and ends in the Senate, where the accused is given an opportunity to defend self against the allegations leveled against them.
For such a process to even take off and run the fullness of time, it would take over a year as both houses discuss the matter. Now, a day in politics is a very long time, and there is belief that so much would have happened that the process will not even materialize. Those allied to the Deputy President are now just dismissing it as bar talk. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at Parliament Buildings.
And the National Assembly Committee on MPs, Services and Facilities could face a backlash from sections of the membership of the National Assembly and the public over proposals to increase MPs' perks. The committee has proposed that MPs be paid an accommodation allowance in addition to their 20 million shilling mortgage, amongst a raft of proposals aimed at ensuring MPs are comfortable in discharging their duties. And TV's Brenda Wanga reports.
This particular.
At the end of each month, the members of parliament take home close to 1 million shillings in salaries and allowances, an oppressive wage bill for the taxpayer who foots that bill.
As well as watch it on book.
Other MPs are plotting to add more to that overloaded bag on the taxpayers' back. In the raft of proposals contained in a report tabled by the Departmental Committee on Members, Services and Facilities, the MPs who already enjoy a 20 million shilling mortgage facility are now seeking an accommodation allowance for every time they come to the city to attend to parliamentary business. This, aside from the sitting allowance of 5,000 shillings they get for each session they attend. And that is not the extent of their new demands. The legislators also want a state-of-the-art gymnasium in the new building that will also house their offices. They also want their offices furnished and refurbished. They also want the expedited construction of an exclusive dining point and the establishment of a gift shop from where they can shop for their loved ones. These proposals were brought to the floor of the House last Thursday, but mysteriously got dropped from the order paper by the Speaker. But as they wait for the National Assembly to get to this order of business, the committee members on Members, Services and Facilities Committee could find itself isolated in its pitch for more plum packs.
Let us discuss the welfare of all Kenyans. I think we have more serious issues, like the issue of drought, like the issue of farming, like the issue of youth unemployment.
Some MPs say the committee got its priorities wrong this time round.
Before even you start talking about the hotels where members of parliament are seated, could you even first of all focus on the kitchen, which is here, and even the seats here, which are broken? Could you focus even on the curtains in parliament before even you go outside there? In fact, now they should be telling us what is this thing that we need to reduce on our welfare, so then it can go to the to the people who are staffing in this country.
The vice chair of that committee, however, chose not to be drawn into the debate before it comes to the floor of the House.
It is your committee that is said to have prepared this report.
My energy levels are low. I need to go and get a bite.
The committee is seeking to hear from the Parliamentary Service Commission the progress of talks with the SRC as far as the review of their salaries and allowances is concerned. The committee recommendations are informed by benchmarking trips taken last year to Zambia, India and New Zealand. Brenda Wanga, in.
Well, away from that, the Kenya National Highways Authority now says Sunday night's tremor may be to blame for the huge cracks that formed at the Chechenia Bridge along the Naivasha-Mai-Mahiu road. Residents around that area, however, say the sections of the road caved in due to poor workmanship and vandalism. NTV's Seth Olale reports.
Sunday night's tremor jolted Undani town in Taita Taveta County. It was the epicenter of a 4.8 magnitude quake that shook several parts of the country. In the aftermath, deep fissures have now emerged on the ground and in buildings.
Nikiwa katika hali ya mapishi nikasikia tu mtetemeko unatikisa nyumba.
But its effects were felt a long way off. Traffic along the busy Naivasha-Mai-Mahiu was diverted at the Chechenia Bridge, 4 kilometers from Naivasha town, owing to huge cracks that sucked in a section of the bridge. Engineer Peter Mundinia of the Kenya National Highways Authority, Kenya, told NTV that Sunday's tremor experience at various locations in the country caused some displacement of the bridge slab support systems, leading to the failure on the road service.
Jana I was in my house. Kulikuwa na earthquake 5 na ilikuwa heavy. Me I had it na nikasikia ni kama nasikia vibaya, but it was there. So venye nimekuja hivi nimekuta imefanya damage kwa bridge.
But according to a section of residents, the damage on the bridge was most likely caused by poor workmanship.
Tumeangalia tukaona hata sio mtetemeko ya ardhi yenye ilipasua hii. Hii ni kazi mbaya ambayo ilifanywa na engineers wenye walitengeneza hii daraja hapa.
This road 3 years ago it started cracking, and when you look down there it's because of the construction, poor construction.
Sections under the bridge had also been chipped away by vandals. At the moment, only 3 metal rods support the bridge. Sections of the Fai Bridge, less than a kilometer away from Chechenia Bridge and along the Naivasha-Mai-Mahiu highway, has also been vandalized. The busy highway is mostly used by heavy commercial vehicles to transport goods to Western Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Motorists using privately owned vehicles have been urged to use the Limuru-Kinungi-Naivasha highway, while heavy commercial vehicles being instructed to be cautious while approaching the affected area. While repair is yet to commence on this particular bridge, it is still not clear how long this particular road at this section will remain closed. In the meantime, engineers from Kenya are still assessing the situation before coming out with a detailed report on what may have caused the damage. Seth Olale, NTV, Naivasha.
The Global Teacher Prize winner Peter Mokaya Tabichi says the 100 million shillings will go a long way in helping his students and the community he serves. The teacher at Kidero Mixed Day Secondary School in Pwani Village in Nakuru County beat over 10,000 other teachers to the prize. NTV's education reporter Sharon Baranga reports that he is also the first African to win the prize.
Peter Tabachi.
From a little-known village in Nakuru County to the top of the world. 36-year-old Peter Mokaya Tabichi, a Franciscan brother and a teacher at Kidero Mixed Day Secondary School, is the world's best tutor. At a glitzy ceremony in Dubai, he was named the winner of the Vaki Global Teacher Prize Award, worth 100 million shillings. As he stepped onto the stage, he was carrying the aspirations of not just his country, but the continent.
It shows that what we as teachers are doing is great work, And therefore, teaching profession is great. It's a noble profession that the world needs to recognize.
The prize money will be paid off in equal installments, spread out over 10 years, and the Vaki Foundation will provide him with financial counseling. But he will spend his money just the same way he has over the years, and that propelled him to the world stage. Tabichi is a mathematics and physics teacher who gives 80% of his salary to the needy. He is from a family of teachers. His father, a retired teacher, accompanied him at the event.
Africa, Kenya, Africa.
Peter's win came as an answered prayer to many who believed in him. They broke into song and dance immediately the announcement was made.
Africa, Africa, Africa.
The Global Teacher Prize Award is largely seen as the Nobel Prize for teaching. It was the 7th edition of the Global Education and Skills Forum that is held annually in Dubai. For 4 times, Kenyan teachers have been among the top 10 finalists for the Global Teacher Prize Award. This year, Peter Mokaya Tabichi, a teacher at Kidero Secondary School in Nakuru County, beat over 10,000 teachers from across the world who had either applied or were nominated for the award. Sharon Baranga, NTV in Dubai.
Now, since Peter Tabichi joined Kidero Secondary School in Jorosep County as a mathematics and physics teacher some 4 years ago, he has been a positive influence for students, most of who come from needy backgrounds and who have in turn soared in this subject. Bridget Singana visited the school and gives us a glimpse of his work at the school.
Hours after their mathematics and physics teacher clinched the Global Best Teacher Award, the excitement at Kidero Secondary School in the remote Pwani village was uncontainable. For his students, Peter Tabichi, a Franciscan brother, has been a living example on humility and selflessness. Most of them are beneficiaries of his benevolence. 80% of his earnings go into paying their fees, and for this, he earned the crown, World's Best Teacher.
I am very happy because of his winning, which will bring a lot of benefits to our community, such that our school will benefit by getting a bus.
We didn't think that he may emerge a winner all over the world, and so we are very glad.
The teachers could not hide their pride.
This is not just a win for Kidero, but it is a win for all teachers in Africa, in Kenya, and so we are very proud. I mean, for Brother Mokaya, we know him. He has been very resilient. He has encouraged us. We work as a team.
In a deprived Kidero Secondary School with crowded classes, a few textbooks, Tabichi is the guiding light for more than 400 students from needy households here for a chance at a better future.
We do not have adequate facilities. For example, we may have enough classrooms, but we only have one science laboratory. We don't have a library. We do not have a secure or safe, reliable water supply.
The 36-year-old teacher hopes to promote the cause of science in the country and beyond. His win has nudged some of his students on, who are expected to represent Kenya at the International Science Fair in Arizona, USA, later on in the year.
It's exam season here at Kidero Secondary School, but news that one of their teachers, Peter Tabichi, has emerged the top teacher in this year's Teacher Awards in Dubai has elicited a lot of excitement from the students and also the teaching staff, who says this win will go a long way in ensuring that this name, Kidero Secondary School, will be etched in the history books for a long time to come. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru County.
And we're so very proud of Peter Tabichi for that win. And of course, congratulations to him. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with much more. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You're watching NTV Tonight. Now, a suspected drug baron arrested on Friday last week has been released on a cash bail of 1 million shillings. Abdul Majid Msalam pleaded not guilty even after detectives found 1 kilogram of heroin stashed in his vehicle. At the same time, 2 other suspects will be detained further after they failed to raise a 25 million shillings bond after they were charged with drug trafficking. NTV's Kevin Mutai with the details.
Abdul Majid Msalam was arraigned in Mombasa High Court to face charges of trafficking heroin worth 3 million shillings. Detectives pounced on him last week with 1 kilogram of the drugs stashed in his vehicle, which was also impounded. Police say they are also on the hunt for his associates suspected to be involved in the illegal business. Msalam is said to be influential, raising fears that drug cartels might have infiltrated key government institutions to escape justice and shield their businesses. His case will be heard on April 12th. At the same time, 2 other suspects, this time a man and his wife, who were also arrested in connection with drug trafficking, Swaleh Ahmed and Fatuma Ahmed, are facing charges of being in possession of 91 kilograms of heroin, which police say was seized in their house in Kikambala on September 2018. Swaleh, who has been arrested 3 times for drug trafficking, is also facing a separate charge of being in possession of cocaine worth 5 million shillings. The 2 suspects were pleading with the court to reduce their bond from 25 million shillings, which they have since been unable to raise. Their ruling on the review of their bond has been set for March 28th. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
Well, the Court of Appeal Judge Erastus Githinji has sued his employer, the Judicial Service Commission, challenging a decision to retire him on the 1st of July 2019. The 69-year-old judge claims the administrative decision by JSC to retire him was in bad faith, irrational and unreasonable. He also argues JSC did not properly calculate his age, saying he was born on December 30th, 1949, according to his birth certificate. Justice Githinji argues that sending him on retirement in July this year exposes him to great prejudice, including criminal liability, as he might be accused of falsifying his date of birth. He claims he was never given an opportunity to be heard before JSC made the decision, which was communicated to him in a letter dated October 30th, 2018. Judges should retire at the age of 70. And the Interior Ministry has opposed the High Court order that stopped the rollout of the digital registration system starting the 2nd of April. Interior Permanent Secretary Karanja Kibicho says the government has spent a lot of resources and time to actualize the National Integrated Identity Management System. In an affidavit, Kibicho says the petition challenging the rollout of NIMS lacks merit and should therefore be scraped off. The Kenya Human Rights Commission had challenged the implementation of the new system on grounds it was unconstitutional. The lobby group also argued that there was no assurance that the new system was hack-proof. A 3-judge bench directed the parties to argue out the application to stop the system orders this Friday. And Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i says all government agencies will now be required to procure their uniform from a plant at the National Youth Service headquarters in Ruaraka in Nairobi. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i issued the order on Monday during an inspection tour of the progress of the production of police uniforms at the plant. Matiang'i says the government will not go back on this decision that has rubbed some tenderpreneurs the wrong way. Ken Mijongo reports.
After years of silence, this facility roared back to life and bringing forth new tidings, a multi-million deal not only to produce the National Youth Service uniforms, which they have been doing since 2013, but also the National Police Service new generation uniforms. The Army and other disciplined services are already beneficiaries.
Over 700 million. That we're saving. Over 700 million.
With this, the government will save close to 1 billion shillings.
This decision to have the uniforms made locally was opposed by those who have for years benefited from contracts to supply the uniforms. One of the reasons given was that the country lacks the capacity to produce the quality and quantity needed. Most of this work was outsourced, but now even the garments come from local textile manufacturers.
It is absolute foolishness to spend our resources to import things we can find here. And then there's government. The government is the greatest consumer of goods and services.
With this level of output, it will take these workers more than a year to produce enough uniforms to be supplied all over the country.
Those who told us all manner of senseless stories about we can't afford, we don't have material and so on, should come and see what we are seeing here. We will not go back on this.
In addition to this sector, we have 13 other sectors within the Association of Manufacturers. I know we're in conversation on leather. We want to also extend this to all the other 13 sectors.
There are 2 8-hour shifts every day.
These machines were installed in this facility more than 40 years ago. Most of it, they have been lying idle. The decision by the government to bring them back to life is quite telling. But what's more telling is the decision by the Interior Ministry to grab the bull by the horns.
We've taken this decision and we're working on this. And we will begin a system of tracking this in various other departments and in various sectors to be sure, because you cannot support manufacturing theoretically.
But aside from the glitzy display of flourishing projects, workers here have a less glamorous side of the story. Most of the casuals have been working here on a 5-day-a-week agreement for which they are paid 910 shillings per day. They should be taking home 18,200 shillings monthly, but they say they have only been paid 5,000 shillings. Their last pay was last month. They also claim these machines, commissioned in the late 70s, make their work difficult as they have been trained on modern machines. They want these issues raised, addressed if the government set targets are to be met. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Well, the Council of Governors has set up a drought kitty where each county government will donate not less than 1 million shillings as a short-term response to counties affected by drought. COG Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya says the funds will help elevate the suffering of badly affected populations. Governors also proposed that county assemblies set aside funds in the county budgets to deal with emergency situations.
The council is calling for an urgent meeting with the president so that both levels of government can develop long-term solutions to this. The governors have established a special fund where they will make contribution to support the affected county. You can contribute 5, you can contribute 10 million or 100 million if you can afford. But we have agreed a minimum contribution of 1 million each, whether you are affected or whether you are not affected.
And on that note, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Julian Samboko will be bringing you the business news.
It is time to get down to business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko. And we start on matters regulation. Owners and managers of savings and credit cooperative societies, SACCOs, will be subjected to lifestyle audits as part of a new strategy to fight corruption among the financial institutions. This follows a new agreement signed between the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the State Department for Cooperatives, which comes as the shadow of some mismanaged SACCOs hangs over many angry and frustrated investors. Victor Kiprop has the details.
Mismanagement, fraud and bad loans in savings and credit cooperatives have become the growing reality for the over 1 trillion shillings sector. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has now stepped in and will conduct lifestyle audits on top SACCO officials, as well as tracing and recovery of stolen assets.
Investigating issues of governance in the corporate sector has been a bit of a challenge. And so, in order to be able to save the hand-earned savings that Kenyans have mobilized and saved through the cooperatives, we have found it necessary to work out an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, with the EACC so that we can have a structured way of collaborating with them.
With the MOU, the audits will involve a raft of measures including lie detector tests and declaration of all assets belonging to family members. The agreement comes in the wake of concerns over undeterred corruption practices within SACCOs that have put at risk the savings of millions of Kenyans.
We are coming in not as to police them, but we are coming in as partners in advising them on how to go about governance issues, looking at loopholes. We do what you call CRA, that is corruption risk assessment, for their movement, so that they are able to take a preventive mechanism at a proactive level rather than a reactive level.
Mwalimu, Ekeza and Stima Investment Cooperative SACCOs are collectively alleged to have already embezzled up to 3.6 billion shillings of members' savings through mismanagement or outright fraud by the leadership. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
And staying on with matters accountability, Energy Cabinet Secretary Charles Kidero and his Principal Secretary had a difficult time before the Senate Energy Committee justifying the government's payment of 5.7 billion shillings for the Lake Turkana wind power project. Alex Mwangi sat through the committee's hearing, where questions emerged on who contracted the Spanish firm involved in which the project, which eventually went bankrupt.
Senior officials from the Energy Ministry, including the Cabinet Secretary and various heads of parastatals, appeared before the Senate Energy Committee to discuss matters to do with the Lake Turkana wind power project. Specifically, the matter that came into sharp focus was whether the government had spent the 5.7 billion shillings of taxpayers' money prudently towards that project.
Do you agree with me, Minister, that if indeed you had carried out due diligence in contracting Isolax or an alternative company, then the transmission line would have been finished on time, then power generated would have been fed into the grid, and therefore the public and the taxpayer would not have paid 5.7 billion to Lake Turkana wind power for deemed generated power?
The procurement of Isolax was done by Lake Turkana themselves.
Is indeed negligence, if what you are saying is true, for the government to ask a private company to go and procure a contractor for them for a government project?
Was Isolax constructing this line on behalf of government, or was Isolax constructing this line on behalf of this private company?
And when they went to bankruptcy under the commercial contract, there was a performance guarantee which we cashed, about 2.8, which we cashed.
And I know the Dracomans have done the due diligence along the way because of what all of us remember about the meltdown. There was a challenge.
So the issue of Lake Turkana wind power contracting Isolax is fallacious.
So Isolax, the contract between Isolax is between Isolax and Kentraco, and that was not reviewed at because
it's between Isolax and Kentraco.
Yes.
Now it is not Isolax and Lake Turkana wind power, as you had earlier said.
You see, distinguished chairman and senators.
And you are just,
I'm saying,
yes,
The energy officials have been given 10 days to provide contract documents between Lake Turkana Wind Power, Isolax, the Chinese firm that took over after Isolax went bankrupt, as well as documents from the National Treasury for financing of the 310 megawatt wind power project.
Thank you very much.
Alex Mwangi, NTV.
Now let's talk about something which has generated a lot of public debate in the recent past. The Dairy Board has suspended processing of the draft dairy regulations of 2019, citing public outcry over the same. A statement from the board's managing director, Margaret Kibogi, however, says that the regulations are not designed to create a monopoly within the dairy sector or adversely impact small-scale farmers. KDB says that stakeholder engagement regarding the regulations commenced in 2016 and included a national stakeholder forum held in June 2017. The regulations have in the recent past elicited public angst, especially on the efforts aimed at prohibiting the distribution of raw milk. And the national government is seeking to raise 50 billion shillings between now and April 19, 2019 through a 10-year and 20-year fixed coupon in bonds. The two bonds, whose interest rates will be market determined, are expected to boost financing of the 2018-2019 budget, even as the taxman strives to break the trend of missing targets. This comes soon after the 25-year infrastructure bond issued in March 2019 attracted little appetite from investors. The 25-year bond, which offered investors 12.2% in interest, attracted bids worth 29 billion shillings against a target of 50 billion shillings, posting a 58% performance rate. In 2019, the government has raised 132 billion shillings through issuance of bonds against a targeted 152 billion shillings. And that wraps up our business bulletin tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Now, Clevis Odhiambo decided to turn his passion into profit after discovering his gifted hand in painting. Years down the line, he has no regrets. On this week's My Job segment, NTV's Ellen Aura delves into Clevis' colourful world.
With precision, each stroke brings life to this piece of art. The one behind the brush, passionate about every inch of his work.
When I started painting, I didn't know you could make money off of it. So my motivation, even at the start, wasn't really making money out of it. Even if it was not a viable career, even if it wasn't something that generated any amount of income, I would still have been doing it because I love painting and I enjoy watching myself grow.
What started off as a hobby for Clevis has now grown into the skill that puts bread on the table.
The normal range is between 40,000 and about to 50,000. The bigger they get, the more expensive they get, and the smaller they get, the less costly they get.
After 2 years of learning the ropes of the industry and the markets, his career-defining moment was in 2015.
There was a painting I did about 4 years ago called Through the Years. It was a portrait of an old lady. When I exhibited this painting and nobody had any idea who I was, then they saw this big painting. It was almost the size of a wall. It was etched into people's minds. It's an unforgettable piece.
For him, social media has been an extensive tool that has helped his career by learning different techniques through online painters. His clientele has also broadened due to his social media pages, where he gets to share most of his work, thus attracting a local and international audience. His passion began when he was a young boy, taking up art as a subject in school and later taking up a course in fine arts at the University of Nairobi.
I was inspired by learning about artists like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. My first inspiration was their work, which was largely sort of realistic, which is why I paint the way I do. I've always loved that kind of finishing, whereby everything looks as photographic as possible.
Each artist has his style, and Clevis projects his work through series.
So far, I've done about 3 series. Then in 2016, 2017, I did another series based on, it was a tribal series. I was painting about East African tribes. The third series, which I'm doing right now, 2018 and 2019, is not based on color or on tribes this time. It's pure portraits.
He encourages the youth to use their skills and gifts as a means to further themselves.
His work has spread color across borders, with Madagascar, Seychelles, Slovakia and the Kenyan government having bought a piece of his work. Clevis continues to make a mark not only on canvas but in people's lives, a stroke of the brush at a time. Helen Aura, NTV.
Fantastic report there by Ellen Aura, and indeed quite an inspiration. Let's take a quick break. Ida Waringa with the sporting action.
On NTV, my name is Aido Orenga. We start things off with volleyball, where Kenya Pipeline overcame their loss of experienced players by winning the third-place playoff tie against GSP of Algeria to retain the bronze medal they won last year in this year's Africa Women's Club Volleyball Championships that concluded in Cairo, Egypt. Fielding a virtually inexperienced squad, Pipeline defeated Algeria's Petroliers in straight sets of 25-22, 25-17 and 25-18 to finish as the best-performing Kenyan side at the continental competition. Coached by ex-international Margaret Indakala, Pipeline have booked a ticket to compete at next year's edition of the competition, regardless of how the team performs in this season's Kenya Volleyball Federation Women's League. KCB came in 9th at the 17-team event after beating Rwanda Revenue 3-0. And just a quick update on that, Al Ahly has beaten Carthage of Tunisia in 4 sets to win the title tournament. They had to come from behind, though, and they are champions of Africa for a record 10th time. Moving on, and East Africa has positively felt the effect of the expansion of the African Cup of Nations format, with 4 East African countries qualifying for the continental showpiece for the first time ever. With all nations that will take part in AFCON now known, I look at what this means for the East African region ahead of the tournament draw set for next month.
The national football team Harambee Stars made history in 2018, qualifying for the African Cup of Nations tournament for the first time in 15 years and with a game to spare, following the disqualification of Sierra Leone from Group F by the Confederation of African Football. Uganda would do the same in November 2018, qualifying for the continental showpiece with a 1-0 win over Cape Verde in Group L. The last time East Africa had 2 nations participating at the same edition was in 2004, when Rwanda and Kenya represented the region. There was uproar in July 2017 when CAF rubber-stamped crucial changes in the structure of the tournament, changing the tournament dates from January-February to June-July and increasing the number of teams taking part from 16 to 24. Africa's flagship sporting event has featured 16 teams since 1996.
It's going to give a lot of players also time to showcase what they have.
The more the merrier. I mean, we want to have more African teams participating. If you look at this particular Nations Cup in 2019, there are several new teams that are going to participate for the first time that we've never seen before. The likes of Madagascar, Mauritania, and even our brothers Burundi. Kenya are back in it. Tanzania also participating for the first time in, I think, 39 years.
The final round of AFCON qualifiers would prove to be dramatic. Burundi qualifying for the tournament for the first time in their history after a tense 1-1 draw at home to Gabon. Burundi finished second in Group C, above Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's Gabon. With 3 East African nations qualified, all eyes were on the final Group L game between Tanzania and Uganda. Taifa Stars would heed the call, cruising to a 3-0 win over the Cranes to join Kenya, Uganda and Burundi in the biggest continental football showpiece that will feature 4 East African nations for the first time ever. So, are we experiencing a football resurgence in the East?
Even our clubs, yeah. Gor Mahia just qualified the other day. Yeah? He just qualified the other day, beat most of the teams from North Africa, and also Simba again. Yeah? Simba also qualified for CAF Champions League.
Kenya is seeded in Pot 4 with fellow East African nation Tanzania, Mauritania, Namibia, Benin and Madagascar. Nigeria, Cameroon, Zimbabwe and Angola amongst the other nations that have qualified. The official draw will be held on 12th April in Cairo, Egypt. Meanwhile, the Harambee Stars jetted back into the country after their narrow loss to Ghana in their dead rubber qualifier in Accra. Coach Sebastian Minye aware of his selection headache.
Of course, I'm disappointed because we were not far to create a huge result in Ghana against a top team in Africa.
This as goalkeeper Patrick Matasi remained upbeat despite his blunder at the Accra Sports Stadium that gifted Ghana the winning goal.
So I think we have enough time to prepare and face the big stage.
Egypt will host the 2019 African Cup of Nations from 21st June to July 19th.
And after a week-long break for international assignments, the Kenyan Premier League action resumes this Wednesday with a host of matches. This even as the title chase remains quite open, with the league lead changing hands between Sofapaka, Bandari and Mathare United, but Toto Bamungu holding fort at the moment, while champions Gor Mahia chase closely and AFC Leopards surge away from the relegation zone. Let's have a look.
Going into round 19 of the Kenyan Premier League, it is the turn of 2009 KPL champion Sofapaka to hold the lead atop the standings in the seemingly constant changing leadership. But Toto Bamungu lead with 33 points, tied with former leaders Bandari FC, who lie second after a run of 3 wins in a row. With 9 wins, 6 draws and 3 losses apiece, Sofapaka and Bandari are a point above champions Gor Mahia, who are mark timing their surge to the helm with 3 matches in hand.
Because of that run, Samuel Onyango.
A little bit patient. We can only get better. In one of my philosophy, one of my words, we can only get better. And I believe in them. I believe in my players. Sometimes adaptation and transition, it takes time.
Gor have won 10 matches, drawn twice and lost in 3 matches. Mathare United's inconsistency continued after collecting their 3rd loss of the season. Their drop from the top spot has seen the Slum Boys drop to 4th on 31 points.
Kila mechi lazima ucheze kama finali kwa sababu mashindano si yako hivyo. Leo kidogo umepata alama 3, imekurusha juu. Kidogo labda umepata alama 1, labda hata umepoteza alama zote. Lakini nafikiria hiyo safari ni nzuri vile inaelekea kwetu kwa sababu kitu muhimu ni tuko pale karibu.
Kariobangi Sharks surge for the top continues as they wrap the top 5 on 29 points. A point better than 6th place Sony Sugar and 3 better than Tusker in 7th place. At the bottom half, AFC Leopards' quest to keep off relegation zone picked momentum as they rose to 13th on 19 points with a vital win over Western Steamer. Mount Kenya United remained rooted at the bottom on 12 points, having accumulated 12 losses this season. Posta Rangers' slump continued after going down to KCB, their 10th loss that puts them in 17th with 16 points. The Mailmen tie on points with Zoo FC, who lie 16th. Matchday 19 kicks off Wednesday with top against bottom teams face-off. Sofapaka hosting Mount Kenya United, Vihiga play AFC Leopards, Zoo FC takes on Gor Mahia, Bandari battles Kakamega Homeboys, Tusker against Kariobangi Sharks, Ulinzi battles Sony Sugar with a new coach as KCB takes on Western Steamer. Brian Otwal, NTV Sport.
U23 football team intensified their training ahead of their 2nd leg tie against Sudan in the 2nd round of the Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations, which doubles up as a 2020 Olympics qualifier. Trailing 2-0 after losing in the 1st leg, coach Francis Kimanzi's Chargers believe they can qualify for the 3rd round. Kenya needs to win with 3 clear goals to advance. The 2nd leg is slated for Tuesday at the Kasarani Stadium, with the winner on aggregate set to face off with either Libya or Nigeria in the 3rd and final qualifying round. The 3rd round winner will grace the Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations, set to be held in Egypt in November 2019. The tournament will act as a qualifier to the 2020 Summer Olympics in Japan. All the best to the Under-23 team tomorrow representing the country. And do make sure to make your way over to Kasarani if indeed you can. That wraps it up here on Sports. We play again tomorrow. I'm Ido Orenga. Enjoy your viewing.
NTV Sport in association with Nivea Dry Fresh Deodorants.
Brings us to the end of our bulletin this hour. Back Press Post with Magnusai is coming right up your way. Who is telling the truth about the deaths from the current drought situation? Fantastic panel and a very interesting conversation to look forward to. Well, our sign language interpreter this evening was David Agondoa. My name is Zeynab Ismail. Good evening.
This is NTV.